single. You walked into a room and within minutes, you knew something was off about someone. You couldn't explain it. You had no evidence. But the feeling was there. Quiet, persistent, impossible to ignore. Most people dismiss that signal. They tell themselves they're being paranoid. They override their instincts to be polite. And then, weeks or months later, they find out they were right all along. That signal wasn't paranoia. It was your brain reading information it hadn't consciously processed yet. Today, you're going to learn how to do that consciously. How to read anyone, accurately, in 3 minutes or less. Not to manipulate them, to protect yourself from being manipulated by them. The stakes. Every day, people make decisions about you before you've spoken a single word. Employers, partners, strangers, they're reading you, constantly. The question isn't whether people are being read. The question is whether you're doing the reading or just being read. People who don't understand human behavior get taken advantage of. They trust the wrong people. They miss the warning signs. They confuse charisma with character and performance with integrity. Dark psychology works because most people are psychologically illiterate. They've never been taught how the subconscious mind leaks information. They've never learned how to decode what someone is actually communicating beneath what they're saying. That changes right now. The mechanism. Reading people accurately comes down to 3 psychological layers. Think of them as the 3 channels people broadcast on simultaneously. And almost never control all at once. Layer 1. Baseline behavior. Before you can read a deviation, you need to know what normal looks like for that specific person. This is something professional investigators, therapists, and interrogators all do. They establish a baseline. How does this person behave when they're relaxed? What's their default posture? Do they make consistent eye contact or occasional eye contact? Do they speak quickly or slowly? Are their gestures open or contained? You're not comparing them to some universal standard. You're comparing them to themselves. When behavior shifts away from that baseline, that's your signal. That shift is data. Researcher Paul Ekman, who spent decades studying facial expressions at the University of California, San Francisco, documented what he called microexpressions, involuntary facial movements lasting less than a quarter of a second. These expressions flash across the face before the conscious mind can suppress them. Fear, contempt, disgust, genuine surprise. They cannot be faked. They can only be missed. Layer 2. Verbal-Nonverbal congruence. When someone's words match their body language, you feel it as trustworthy. When they don't match, you feel it as unease, even if you can't explain why. This is your cognitive bias detection system working. Your brain is processing thousands of data points simultaneously and sending you a summary in the form of a gut feeling. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian's research, though often oversimplified in popular media, pointed toward something real. When someone's tone and body language contradict their words, we instinctively trust the nonverbal channel more. We evolved to do this. Words can be constructed. Micro-reactions happen faster than thought. Watch for the mismatches. Someone who says, "I'm fine," while their jaw is tight and their shoulders are elevated is not fine. Someone who agrees with you but looks away at the exact moment of agreement may not actually agree. Layer 3. Patterns under pressure. The third layer only becomes visible when something is at stake. How does this person behave when they're under even mild social pressure? Ask a mildly challenging question. Introduce a slight disagreement. See what emerges. People who are psychologically secure tend to engage. They can hold complexity. They can tolerate a different point of view without their demeanor shifting dramatically. People who have something to hide or who feel fundamentally threatened by scrutiny tend to deflect, over-explain, attack, or shut down. This is where emotional manipulation often reveals itself. Manipulators hate being questioned. They've built their tactics around going unexamined. Real examples. Scenario 1. The job interview. You're hiring for a position of trust. The candidate is polished, articulate, rehearsed. Their answers are perfect, but you notice something. Every time you ask about a previous team or co-worker, their baseline shifts. A small tightening around the eyes, a slight pause before the smooth answer begins. The words are generous, but the face flashes something else for a fraction of a second. You ask a gentle follow-up. What would your last manager say was your biggest challenge to work with? Watch what happens. A secure person answers with self-awareness. A person concealing something either deflects, pivots to praise, or their tone shifts in a way that feels slightly off-register. You've just gathered more information in 30 seconds than you could from an hour of rehearsed answers. Scenario. The romantic partner. You've started seeing someone new. They seem attentive, warm, engaged, but something nags at you. You notice they never quite answer direct questions directly. When you ask about their past, they refrain. They know a great deal about you, and you realize quietly that you know very little about them. This pattern, extracting information while revealing little, is a documented behavior in people with manipulative tendencies. They gather leverage. They give none. Reading this pattern early can spare you months or years of psychological harm. Scenario 3. The social aggressor. Someone in a group setting makes a comment at your expense, disguised as a joke. Everyone laughs. You feel the sting but can't quite articulate why. Watch their eyes in the moment after the laugh fades. Are they checking your reaction? Are they watching to see how much that landed? That check is the tell. It confirms intent. Accidental awkwardness doesn't come with that targeted follow-up glance. People manipulation done as social dominance almost always does. Pattern interrupt. Here's what manipulators don't want you to know. The moment you become a reader, the moment you stop being a passive participant and start being an observer, you change the entire dynamic. Manipulators depend on invisibility. Their tactics work because they go unnoticed. The second someone starts paying calm, neutral attention to what's actually happening, the mechanisms begin to break down. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to confront anyone. The act of seeing clearly is itself a form of psychological self-defense. The defense. Here are practical tools you can use immediately. Tool 1. Establish the baseline in the first 60 seconds. Don't start evaluating until you've watched someone in a neutral, low-stakes moment. Let them talk about something comfortable. Watch their natural rhythm. That's your reference point. Tool 2. Ask the same question 2 different ways. Honest people give consistent answers regardless of how a question is framed. People managing a version of events tend to give answers that subtly shift when the framing shifts. You're not interrogating. You're just paying attention to consistency. Tool 3. Watch the hands. Hands are often ignored because people focus on faces, but hand behavior is deeply revealing. Self-touching, face-touching, neck-touching, arm-rubbing spikes under anxiety and concealment. Sudden stillness in naturally expressive hands can signal a moment of cognitive overload. Tool 4. Notice what's absent. This is advanced and powerful. Pay attention to what someone doesn't say, doesn't acknowledge, doesn't respond to. Gaps are as informative as content. If you share something personal and they move immediately past it without acknowledgement, that absence tells you something about how they process others. Tool 5. Trust the incongruence. When something feels off, when words and body don't match, when warmth feels performed, when confidence seems brittle, trust that feeling. Don't override it with politeness. You don't have to act on it immediately. Just hold it as data. The subconscious mind is processing what your conscious mind hasn't organized yet. That feeling of unease is not irrational. It's your cognitive system sending you a report. Zoom out. Psychological literacy is not about suspicion. It's not about walking through life treating everyone as a threat. It's about accuracy. The ability to see people clearly, their intentions, their patterns, their consistency, is one of the most protective skills you can develop. It allows you to extend trust where trust is warranted, and to recognize early when something doesn't add up. Robert Greene wrote that the first step in any protection against manipulation is the removal of naivety. Not cynicism, naivety. The assumption that people are always showing you everything, that surfaces reflect depths, that smooth presentation means aligned intention. Awareness itself changes your social reality. When you read people accurately, the right people recognize that and respect it. The wrong people tend to drift toward easier targets. That signal you felt walking into that room, the one you were told to ignore, that was data. And now, you know how to read it. Think back to the last time someone made you feel uneasy and you couldn't explain why. What was your baseline telling you? What mismatch were you picking up before your conscious mind caught up? You had the information. You just didn't have the framework. Now you do. Use this to protect yourself, never to harm. Dark psychology. Understand people. Protect yourself.